Om Sam Saraswati Namaha. Namaste. Namaste, everyone. On page 192, Panchamo Adhyaya, Bhima Yoga. Om Asya Sri Udracharitasya Rudra Rishi Mahasaraswati Devata Anshtu Chandaha Bhima Sati Brahmori Bijam Suryastatvam Samaveda Swaruham Mahasaraswati Pratyate Udracharitapati Bhima Yoga Dhyanam Gantasu Lakalani Sankam Musale Chakram Sayakam Asanjali Dadatingananta Ila Sachitam Shatuya Prabham Gauri Dekha Smukabam Tri Jagatamandana Bhutam Maham Purva Matra Saraswatim Anubhaje Shumbhati Dvajardinim Om Klim Rishi Ruvacha Purasambha Nishumbhashya Mashurabhyam Sajimate Trilokyam Yajapagascha Rita Vandalabhasrayat Tabiba Suryatantabad Adhikaram Tadendabam Kovirabhata Yamyamcha Chakrati Pagnashacha Tabiba Padanarincha Chakaturvani Karacha Katoliva Nirduta Brashraja Rajita Rita Dikadastikasas Tabyam Sare Niraprita Mahasuravyam Tam Devim Sansaratyam Rajitam Tajastam Brodato Yatha Pasus Vitakila Bhavatam Nashayishami Takshanat Paramapada Iti Kritva Matim Deva Himabandam Yeshwaram Jagmustatra Tato Devim Vishnu Mayam Pratishthavo Deva Ruchu Namo Devi Mahadevi Shivaye Satatam Namah Namah Prakriti Bhadraye Niyataha Pranataha Smatam Rudraya Nama Nityaye Koryo Idati Namo Namaha Jyotsnaye Chanduru Vidyate Sukaya Satatam Namaha Kalyani Pranatam Riddhi Siddhi Karmom Namo Namaha Nariti Bhuritam Lakshmi Sarvajayate Namo Namaha Durgaye Durgaparaye Saraye Sadakarini Kyati Tateva Krishnaye Dumraye Satatanva Ati Samya Ati Rodaye Natastasya Namo Namah Namo Jagat Pratishtaye Devrati Kritari Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Vishnu Mayeti Samhita Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Chaitanya Pratyate Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Buddhi Rupena Samstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Nidra Rupena Samstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shurarupena Samstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Chaya Rupena Samstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Sati Rupena Samstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Krishna Rupena Samstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shanti Rupena Samstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Jati Rupena Samstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Lacharupena Samstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shanti Rupena Samstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shraddharupena Samstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Kanti Rupena Samstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Lakshmi Rupena Samstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Vritti Rupena Samstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Smriti Rupena Samstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Dvaya Rupena Samstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Tushti Rupena Samstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Matri Rupena Samstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Bhranti Rupena Samstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Indriyamati Satri Bhutanam Chakileshriya Bhuteshu Satatangasri Vyakti Devyati Namo Namaha Chitti Rupena Yakritnam Etad Vyaktistitam Jagat Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Stuta Surir Purvamabhishta Samsragyatata Tursure Vinadineshu Sevita Karotu Sanaha Subhaha Heturishwari Shubhani Bhadranyati Antu Chapadata Yasam Pratanta Data Daityatapir Asmadihi Rishacha Surir Namasyate Yacha Smita Dakshanaveva Halina Hasarvapdo Opti Vinamra Ortiviki Let's return to page 192 and study the material that we just read. Chapter 5, the application Vini Yoga. Om presenting the concluding episode. Remember, we had the first chapter was the first episode, the manifestation of Mahakali. The second, third, and fourth chapters was the middle episode, and that was the manifestation of Mahalakshmi. And now the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th chapters constitute the concluding episode, the manifestations of Mahasaraswati. So, the concluding episode, the reliever from suffering, is the seer. That's Rudra, Asrutrayate. He, the great goddess of all-pervading knowledge, is the deity. That's Mahasaraswati. Anushtup, we had Gayatri, Ushtuk, and now we have Anushtup. It's the evening, the concluding Chando, the rhythm of the evening. 32 syllables to the verse is the meter. Bhima is the energy, and she is formidable, terrible, very outrageously strong. Brahmari is the seed, she who has a bee-like nature. The sun is the principle. Samaveda is the intrinsic nature for the satisfaction of the great goddess of all-pervading knowledge. This last episode is being applied in recitation, and now the meditation. Bearing in her lotus hands, and she's got 8 of them, so count the astras, count the things that she's holding. She has the bell of continuous tone, the pike of concentration, the plow sowing the seeds of the way of truth to wisdom, that's Dharma, the highest ideals of perfection, the conch of vibrations, the pistol of refinement, the discus of revolving time, the bow of determination, and the arrow of speech, whose radiance is like the moon in autumn, whose appearance is most beautiful, who is manifested from the body of she who is rays of light and is the support of the 3 worlds, that great goddess of all-pervading knowledge, who destroyed self-conceit and other thoughts, I worship. Om Kleen, the Rishi said, in olden days, now remember, in the last chapter, she gave us the boom. She said, God's Sanskrita, whenever, wherever you remember me, then and there, immediately, I will give you intuitive perception and remove your in every distress. And any human being who sings these verses is going to get wisdom and prosperity, good health, every blessing for worldly success that is necessary. And with the strength of that boon, we all went back to heaven. I mean, that's a neat place to be. So then, in olden days, there were 2 thoughts, self-conceit and self-deprecation. Again! They're coming again! We just got through battling with the great ego, and now we gotta face self-conceit? Oh, look how well I killed my ego! Who, with the abundance of their self-conceit, with the abundance of their excessive self-conceit, they rob the rule of the pure, the husband of the power that rules, the master of the 3 worlds, that's Indra, the king of heaven, of a portion of sacrifice. His portion they took away. You're out, Indra. Those 2 assume the dominions of the light of wisdom and devotion. The Lord of wealth, the power of control, the Lord of equilibrium, and made them subservient. The effects of emancipation and the light of meditation were also removed. These 2 defeated the gods, assumed their authority, and spoiled the kingdom, and with disrespect, all the gods were put out of heaven. Oh, can you imagine? Once again, we got kicked out of heaven and all of our divine qualities were assumed by the ego. He took over all of the light of wisdom. Everything, I thought it was wise, but it was only wise in terms of the ego. And he took over devotion and he took over wealth. The wealth of realization, the power of control. I lost my control. I lost my equilibrium and I became a servant of self-conceit. Having been thus insulted by the two great thoughts, the gods and goddesses remember the invincible goddess and thought of the boon the mother of the verse gave to us, gave to them. Well, us too, we get it too. In any time of adversity, if you remember me, then and there, I will eradicate your every distress. That was the boon. We remember, Mom. We didn't forget. Thinking thus, the gods went to the king of mountains, the Devi Mandir, and there began to extol the goddess, the Supreme Lord, the great measurement of the consciousness that pervades all. Mom, we are going to extol you. We pray to you. And the gods said, we bow to the goddess, to the great goddess, to the energy of infinite goodness at all times we bow. Except when we forget. But when we remember, we bow. We bow to nature, to the excellent one. With discipline, we have bowed down. And that's very important, Mom. Our sadhana, our discipline, our structured worship makes us bow. It makes us to remember. We bow to you. With discipline, we bow. To the reliever of sufferings, we bow. To the eternal. To the embodiment of rays of light. To the creatress, to she who manifests light, to the form of devotion, to happiness, continually we bow. To the welfare of those who bow, we bow. Hey, who bows? We bow. To the welfare of those who bow, we bow to ourselves. To change, to perfection, to dissolution, to the wealth that sustains the earth, to the life of consciousness, to you, we bow, we bow. Namaste, namaste, with all the energy of existence, of all of the energy of consciousness, we bow to you from our hearts. Namaste. It's not just a hey ma'am, and I salute you. It's not, hail goddess. It's, we bow. Namo namaha. With all the energy of consciousness. All the consciousness I can focus on you and pay attention to you. All my attentiveness. All the energy with which I can pay attention to you. That is my bowing to the divinity which you reflect to me. I bow to you from my heart. Namaste. To she who removes difficulties, to she who removes beyond all difficulties, to the essence, to the cause of all, to perception, and to the doer of all, to the unknowable one, continually we bow. To the extremely beautiful and to the extremely fierce, we bow to her, we bow, we bow. We bow to the establisher of the perceivable universe, to the goddess, to all action. We bow, we bow. To the divine goddess, in all existence who is addressed as the perceivable form of the consciousness that pervades all. That's how we address you, Mom. You are the perceivable form of consciousness, the great form of consciousness, the great measurement of consciousness, the great limitation of consciousness. You make consciousness perceivable to me by putting it inside a form. We bow to her. We bow to her. We bow to her continually. We bow, we bow. And I'd like to talk to you for just a moment about these namastashi, 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 namo namaha, these three forms of bowing. And you know, these are broken up into separate offerings. Namastashi swaha, namastashi swaha, namastashi namo namaha swaha. And I bow to you in the gross body, I bow to you in the subtle body, I bow to you in the causal body. I bow to you on all the levels of consciousness. I bow, I bow. And I bow to you 5 times. Namastashi, 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 namo, namah. I bow, I bow, I bow, I bow, I bow to you. With all the 5s, with my 5 organs of knowledge, with my 5 organs of action, with my 5 mahabhutas, with the 5 constituent elements of creation, Shiti, Aptej, Molu, Bom, earth, water, fire, air, and ether. I bow to you with the 5 matras, the 5 objects of perception, the 5 objects of sense, Rathe, Rupi, Chigande, Cha, Sabde, Sparshe, Cha, Yogini, with taste and form and hearing and smell and touch. Everything I sense is you, and I bow to you with every perception. Everything I see, I perceive is you, and I bow to you with every perception. And my prataksh, my pratyoi, my prakash, my perception of external objects, empirically perceived objects. I bow to you in the gross body. In the subtle body, everything I can conceive or dream, I bow to you in the subtle body. And in the causal body, everything I can know through intuition or meditation and beyond, I bow to you there as well. Namastashi, 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 namo namaha. And you would use this also as for some put. If you were going to recite one mantra before the Chandi shloka and one mantra after the Chandi shloka. For example, take the mantra Om Aim Ring Kling Chamunda Viche. You'd say Om Aim Ring Kling Chamunda Viche. Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Vishnu Mayeti Sabdita Namastasye Om Aim Ring Kling Chamunda Viche. Om Aim Ring Kling Chamunda Viche. Namastasye Om Aim Ring Kling Chamunda Viche. Om Aim Ring Kling Chamunda Viche. Namastasye Namo Namaha Om Aim Ring Kling Chamunda Viche. Once before and once after each of the double mantras constitutes a Chandi Path. So if you were going to use a mantra like Sharanagata Vinat Poritrana Prayane Sarvashyarti Are Devi Narayani Navastate Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Vishnu Mayeti Sabdita Namastasi Sharanagata Vinat Poritrana Prayane Sarvashyarti Are Devi Narayani Navastate Sharanagata Vinat Poritrana Prayane Sarvashyarti Are Devi Narayani Navastate Namastasi Sarnagata Dinata Poritrana Rayani Sarvashakti Are Devi Narayani Namaste Sarnagata Dinata Poritrana Rayani Sarvashakti Are Devi Narayani Namaste Namastasi Namo Namah Sarnagata Dinata Poritrana Rayani Sarvashakti Are Devi Narayani Namaste. And that's an Uday Samput. One before and one after, in between 15 is the Shakti mantra, and each Namastasye is a complete mantra. There are 66 Ahutis in the Tantric Devi Shukta. And she is the perceivable form of the consciousness that pervades all. I bow to you. We bow to her. We bow to her continually. We bow. To the divine goddess in all existence who resides all throughout the consciousness and is known by the reflections of mind. This sounds like a blog that we have, a discussion about I and mind. We bow to her. We bow to her. We bow to her continually. We bow. We bow. To the divine goddess who resides in all existence in the form of intelligence, Buddhi Rupena Samstita. That was Arnab's question from yesterday. What is the difference between Buddhi, Mon, and Chitta? We bow to her, we bow to her, we bow to her continually. We bow. We bow with every perception. To the divine goddess who resides in all existence in the form of sleep, Yoga Nidra. Vishnu was in chapter 1. He was in the sleep of divine union. We bow to her, we bow to her, we bow to her continually. We bow, we bow. Please wake me up. Wake up this Vishnu so we can put too much and too little into balance. To the divine goddess who resides in all existence in the form of hunger. And I really hunger after spiritual life. I really hunger after love of my guru. I really hunger for the sadhana that will bring me to God. We bow to her, we bow to her, we bow to her continually. We bow, we bow. Let's just take one moment and look. Remember oh my goodness. The Brahmadi Shapa Vimochana. In the first part of the book, it began on page 49, and we had in verse number 2, Buddhi Rimpena Samstita, Om Shring Buddhi Swarupinyati Mahisa Surasenya Nasinyati Brahma Boshishta Vishwamitra Shapabhi Mukta Baba. And here in chapter 2, we have Buddhi. And in chapter 3 we had Rakaswarupinyaki and the perfection of the subtle body. These are, remember this Tantric Devi Shukta Yadevi Sarabhuteshu. It follows the immediate form of the table of contents which we discussed in the Brahmadi Shapa Vimochana, where we remove the curses of Brahma and others, Brahma, Boshishta, and Vishwamitra specifically. Now, here we have the key element, the key ingredient, the key form of the goddess of each chapter who's going to remove from us those inequities caused by Ashuric tendencies, the tendencies of duality. Now, really hungering for our spiritual quest. In verse 29, to the divine goddess who resides in all existence in the form of appearance. We bow to her. We bow to her. We bow to her continually. We bow, we bow. And that means every form appears to us in some way. So that appearance is within every form. And she appears to us. She's not only making an appearance, but she appears to us and we perceive her appearance. And when she appears, she manifests. So there are many innuendos to the word appearance. It could be the manifestation, it could be the form, it could be the appearance. To the divine goddess who resides in all existence in the form of energy, Shakti Rupena Samstita. We bow to her, we bow to her, we bow to her continually. We bow on every level of consciousness, with every organ, with every indriya, with every aspect of our perceiving capacity. we bow to her. With all the energy of consciousness, we bow to her from our heart. We bow to you. To the divine goddess who resides in all existence in the form of desire. And remember, Icha, Kriya, and Gyan Shakti are inherent in every atom. From Brahma to a blade of grass, there is nothing manifest without desire, without will, and without action. There is no action possible. We bow to her. We bow to her. We bow to her continually. We bow. We bow. To the divine goddess who resides in all existence in the form of patient forgiveness. Nidima, that was the answer to your question. We bow to her. We bow to her. We bow to her continually. We bow. We bow and pray that we get to manifest as our guru, as our example, that Shanti, that the root of Shanti, the form of patience and forgiveness in every action, in every perception. We bow to you. We bow to you. We bow to you with that patience and forgiveness and forbearance and capacity of toleration. Sahishnata. To the divine goddess who resides in all existence in the form of all living beings, we're all imbued with these same deflects. And can I be forgiving to myself as well as to the rest, to the others, forms of me? We bow to her. We bow to her. We bow to her continually. We bow. We bow. To the divine goddess who resides in all existence in the form of all living beings. We did that. We'll keep bowing to her. We bow to her. We bow to her. We bow to her. Continually we bow. We bow. To the divine goddess who resides in all existence in the form of humility. Please, Mom, don't let me get into trouble. We bow to her. We bow to her. We bow to her continually. We bow. We bow. To the divine goddess who resides in all existence in the form of peace. We bow to her. We bow to her. We bow to her continually. We bow. We bow. To the divine goddess who resides in all existence in the form of faith. And we gotta have faith, otherwise we never do anything. If you don't believe you're going to get paid on Friday, I don't think you'd show up from Monday through Thursday. Every one of us believes, and therefore we act. And that faith is the substance of our activities. That belief system creates our values. We bow to her. We bow to her. We bow to her continually. We bow. We bow. And if we didn't believe, Mom, how could we bow to you? We believe that this form is divine and we bow to it. We believe this scripture has wisdom and we study it. We believe that this satsang has the nectar of devotion and we share with it. All of our value systems are based on our faith. To the divine goddess who resides in all existence in the form of beauty enhanced by love. My relationship to the object makes it more beautiful. I love you, and therefore you're different from every other piece of clay that was in the river on that day. Every piece of mud and clay that was on the river that day, they're not as beautiful as you are. Your beauty is enhanced by my love for you. And I bow to you. We bow to her, we bow to her, we bow to her. Continually, we bow, we bow. To the divine goddess who resides in all existence in the form of true wealth. And now what is true wealth? Every one of us has our own measure. Each one of us has our own set of values, and that defines our true wealth, our laksha, our goal, our lakshmi. What is the wealth to me? It could be the wealth of recognition. It could be the wealth of physical, material wealth. It could be every one of us has our own measure of what that wealth is, and ultimately, that ultimate true wealth is you. We bow to her. We bow to her. We bow to her. Continually, we bow. We bow to the divine goddess who resides in all existence in the form of activity. Every action, every icha, every kriya, it's all her. Every action is the manifestation of energy, and all energy is you. We bow to her. We bow to her. We bow to her continually. We bow. We bow. To the divine goddess who resides in all existence in the form of recollection, we bow to her, we bow to her, we bow to her continually, we bow, we bow. And recollection could be any memory, anything remember, or recollection could be where we recollect, we perceive it, we enter into that relationship with it. We have an immediate apprehension. To the divine goddess who resides in all existence in the form of compassion, we bow to her, we bow to her, we bow to her continually. We bow, we bow. To the divine goddess who resides in all existence in the form of satisfaction, what a silly guy saying that song, I can't get no satisfaction. Guys and ladies, we can get it. We can bow to her in the form of satisfaction. We must remain satisfied ourselves. We are sadhus. Tushti rupena samstita. She resides all throughout every form of satisfaction. Don't worry, be happy. We bow to her, we bow to her, we bow to her continually. We bow, we bow. To the divine goddess who resides in all existence in the form of mother, Matri Rupena Samstita. Hey Mom, here we are, your kids. And you're not going to pay attention to devoted kids like us. Then what is the meaning of motherhood? We bow to her. We bow to her. We bow to her continually. We bow. We bow. To the divine goddess who resides in all existence in the form of confusion, Bhranti, a continuous movement, a touring, traveling all around, wandering. We bow to her. We bow to her. We bow to her. Continually, we bow, we bow. But Mom, even while we're bowing to you as we wander around in confusion, would you please take the energy away from the confusion, because we see that as you. And now, it's no longer an issue of confusion. It is the manifestation of the Divine Mother. We bow to her, we bow to her, we bow to her continually. We bow. We bow. Presiding over the senses of all beings, that's you, and pervading all existence, to the omnipresent goddess who individualizes creation, Dakti Rup. She makes it into individual forms. She individualizes it. Instead of being one shamashti srishti, in one universal form, it is a little of this and a little of that. To the omnipresent goddess who individualizes creation, we bow, we bow. In the form of consciousness, she distinguishes the individual phenomena of the perceivable universe. See, she is the form of consciousness, and as the form of consciousness, she makes specific forms. And she makes the individual, she distinguishes the individual phenomena in the perceivable universe. We bow to her. We bow to her. We bow to her continually. We bow every time we see anything that's an individual phenomenon. We are seeing her. We are bowing to her with our perception of an individual form. In days of old, that means a long time ago, all of the gods led by Indra, the rule of the pure, sang these verses of praise for the purpose of accomplishing their desired objective, of surrendering the ego in the light of wisdom. And for many days that service was rendered. So look, a long time ago, Indra sang a hymn of praise to you because he wanted to surrender the ego in the light of wisdom. And you granted him the wish. You granted him that boon. And you allowed him that privilege for many days. May she, the seer of all, the Lord of all, the source of all good, perform similarly for us all auspicious things by putting an end to all distress. Hey, Mom, you promised whenever we remember you, Samskrita, whenever we remember, wherever we remember you, then and there you will give us an intuitive vision and remove our every distress. Now, get to work. I rest my case. May she perform similarly for us, just like she did for Indra and all the other gods, and give us back our intuitive vision. May she take away the energy from the ego. May she put self-conceit and self-deprecation in their place. May she remind us that we are the gods and we are the goddesses, and we get to dwell in heaven. We gods have been harassed by arrogant thoughts in the manner of humans. Blah. And at this time, all of us gods, everybody, all of us gods, bow to the seer of all, who, when we bow to with devotion, whenever she bowed to with devotion, if you pay enough attention, you have enough devotion that you pay attention, and she's remembered in a physical image that limits your perception. You're not looking here and there and seeing many, many physical images. You have one physical image, immediately terminates our every adversity. That was the promise, Mom. Now we're doing our part. We gods have been harassed just like human beings. These arrogant thoughts are making us forget our divinity. And right now, this very moment, we are bowing to you in a physical image with devotion. And we're paying attention because of our devotion. And it's your job to terminate our every adversity. Let's see if there are any questions.
Swamiji, there's a question from Kumari from Valley Road.
Yes, Kumari, Mom.
The Divine Mother tells us in verse 6 that if we remember her in times of adversity, she will eradicate our every distress. How does she do this? In adverse situations that I may encounter, I can remember her, yet I'm feeling the adversity and distress from the situation. Doesn't the mind attain a level of purity before the devotee can feel the presence of mother in any situation, good or adverse? And is that the remembrance she speaks of in verse 6?
Kumari Mom, namaste. You have two parts of the question. Let's address the first part first. The first part is, how is it that you remember her in adversity and she doesn't remove the distress? And the reason is because you are thinking two thoughts. You're not thinking one thought. You're thinking mother and distress. And take it away. Now, if you really remember with devotion only mother, the distress dissolves immediately. That is the removal of distress. Then, how can there be distress? Now, the second part of your question is, how do we remember with devotion so that there is no duality, there's not a second thought? And that is, with the intensity of our sincerity, we're focusing our attention. Attentively, we are bowing to you with all the energy of consciousness. From my heart, you reflect divinity to me. Namaste. I am bowing to you exclusively. I'm not bowing to the distress. I am bowing to you exclusively. And that's the purpose of this hymn. That's the function of this hymn. That's what the meaning of this hymn, and that is the application of this hymn. The gods did it, and they were saved. And we gods are doing it. Now, she's got to save us too.
Question from Usha from Canada.
Namaste, Usha. Namaste, Neil.
Namaste, Swamiji. I don't quite understand all the energies mentioned in the Vinayog. Why Bhima, Brahmari, Sun, and Samaveda in terms of application? Could you say a little more, please?
Yes, I can. And we'll get to that in the Murti Rahasya. That'll be on page 350. These are the goddesses that are going to come in the future. The manifestations that will come into manifestation in the future. So we had in the Vinayog, the first Vinayog, we had the goddess, let's refresh our memory. In the first Vinayog, we had there it is, Raftadantika. And if you look, the first of the Murti Rahasya is the first one to manifest, should be Rafta, yes, verse 4 on page 351 is Raftadantika. In the second chapter, Vinayog, or the second episode, Vinayog, we have the goddess Shakambhori. And after, in verse 12, comes the goddess Shakambhori. And now in the third episode, we have the goddess, just find it here. Bhima is the energy, Brahmari is the sea, and we have Bhima and Brahmari are in the Murti Rahasya. Brahmari I have here is on verse 20, and Bhim is Brahmari is in verse 20, and Bhim is in verse. Where are you, Bhim? Here she is in verse 18. That's on page 354. So those are the goddesses, all the goddesses that appear in the Viniyogas, except for Mahakali, Mahalakshmi, Mahasaraswati. They are the goddesses, the energies, the pins, the seeds of the Murti Rahasya. And we'll get to the study of the Murti Rahasya when we finish the book. It's sort of at the end. Of course, in the Vinayog chapter 1, or the first episode is Rig Veda. In the Vinayog of the second episode is Yajurveda, and in the Vinayog is Samaveda. So we have Veda Traya.
Swamiji, Usha is also wondering about chapter 5 in relation to chapter 4. The ego was slain in chapter 4, so samadhi. Then coming out of samadhi, is it that the ego returns in the form of self-conceit, me, the great yogi, and self-deprecation, or should we not look at the chapters sequentially?
You know, I had asked that same question of my guru, and he said that all the battles, all 3 episodes are going on simultaneously. Because at any moment, you got too little, I got hungry, I got too much, I've got to get rid of some. At any moment, the great ego comes with his armies. At any moment, self-conceit and self-deprecation come. So, when you progress in the sadhana, at first you look at it as, okay, now I'm going to do the first episode and say, oh, I can't sit down until I have the right amount. But the right amount is not permanent. Then in the second episode you say, well, I can't do sadhana until I get rid of the generals of the great ego. That is the sadhana. And then they come back again in various forms. They are constantly changing and interchanging their forms. So it's not a linear progression. They are all happening simultaneously.
Swamiji, Nilima Agarwal from New Delhi.
Namaste Nilima, Namaste Sanjay.
Namaste Swamiji, in verse 82, it says, remembered in a physical image. What does this mean? Thank you.
Well, it means in a murti. It means in some symbol of divinity. In some form, sarup, sagun. If you remember her with some form, you can put a flower there. It could be a candle. It could be a full murti. But when you remember Mother and focus on one form, then your concentration is more acute and your attentiveness is more intense. And then you can focus to the exclusion of all delusion. So all of the thoughts are literally consumed by your one form of divinity. And it doesn't matter what that form is, as long as you postulate, that is my form of divinity. That is the symbol of Mother to me.
Swamiji, what does it mean that the ego took over divine qualities? How can they be divine if the ego controls them?
How can the sun be bright if it's covered by a cloud? The sun is always shining. It's just that we can't see it because of the cloud. And that's the same way Vritra, the cloud, he rises up and covers Surya. And we can't see the light of wisdom. In the same way, self-conceit and self-deprecation rise up and obscure our wisdom. They take over our purity. They drive us out from meditation. They throw us out of heaven, and with disrespect, they kick us out. But we know just what to do. They can't keep us down for long. We know just what to do. Sit before the manifested image of divinity and bow, and bow, and bow, and bow, and bow with such sincerity that we pay attention. And the Mother, being pleased with the sincerity of our effort, she must withdraw the energy from self-conceit and self-deprecation and give it back to the gods, send us back to heaven where we maintain divine perception again. Om Sam Saraswati Namaha. Namaste.